Hey John, it's Malachi again, and I think I have another really good story for you. But first, I have to ask just one question. How many days do you think you could go without food or water, desperately hungry, before you decide you have to eat? Nicole. Wait, what? That's a weird question.
Probably about 2 days.
I also recently discovered where John would actually kill me.
Where?
And where he would dispose of my body.
Among the dirt and trees?
Trust me, you have not discovered that.
No, we've discussed this. We've discussed where you would hide my body.
Where?
There is a something that has to do with the military.
Well, don't tell people shit, because now they're
Because
going to
now they're gonna know where my dead body will be found.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, my body will be found in.
All right, well, at least I know where to visit you.
We found a couple heads there before.
Oh.
Cheating.
Of like wives.
Well, you shouldn't be cheating.
Well, I ain't be cheating.
Well, I ain't be a wife, so.
My wife's a slut.
All I know is that this week has been so busy for me that the first time I have been on TikTok in 2 weeks was last night.
Oh, I'm sure you missed a lot of important stuff.
You know what?
World-changing events.
Well, you know what? No, I did okay. So, I'm doing better with my TikTok problem. It's not as much of a problem because I wasn't on it at all.
As it is as an addiction, but it's fine.
Oh, also, so someone who came to the party gave me a candle. And I had my thank you card. I was like, thank you for enabling my candle problem. It was really nice. Of course, I fucking dropped it and it shattered.
Did you throw it away then, Jen?
No, because it only shattered at the top. It was a woodwick candle. I can't throw that away.
Yes, but can you use it?
Oh yeah, I can use it.
Already buzzed.
Me too.
I've been buzzed.
I feel great. Those pickle
pretzels.
Oh my god, they're so good.
Peter picked a pickle pretzel.
They're so
they are
fucking
good.
Delicious.
And they go really well with the cheese and salami.
I didn't think I would like pickle flavored things.
Welcome to the Talk Murder Me podcast. My name is John. I'm here with Jen and Nicole. This is episode 253. This is a request from a friend in Talco Supremo. We've done a couple of his stories before. This is for Malachi. First, we're going to take some shots, and then we're going to get started. This is a lovely case.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Hey.
No, that's empty. Don't cheat, John.
Surprise shots. Surprise shots. We don't know what they are because they're a surprise.
This is peanut butter.
Peanut butter whiskey. Cheers.
Cheers.
I think you're putting too much in there.
The other night I went to, you know what? It almost tastes like a
We're
culotta.
all drinking the same amount.
So the other night I went to happy hour with some of my friends from work, and there was, we had a dessert adult milkshake. It was like vanilla ice cream with hot fudge and peanut butter whiskey, and it was amazing.
Ooh, that sounds so good.
It was good.
This is an older story. I don't know how he finds these really good stories, but this one is pretty crazy. And this is a story from the early 1800s.
Ooh.
And I actually pulled the majority of this research from a newspaper from 1824.
Wow.
So-
Are you still collecting newspapers, or are you done with that?
No, I am. You know.
We gotta find the right ones.
Yeah.
No willy-nillys.
No.
And we are recording this live for our Talco Supremos. Thank you guys so much for being on. Also, quick plug, boom, go subscribe to the new podcast, What Happened To, because we're going to do a giveaway.
I hope I don't end up on that podcast. Like, I hope we don't end up on that podcast.
I mean, I'm going to tell you where I'm ending up, so.
You just did.
Yeah.
I almost said MacArthur.
That's where my body will be found.
Good to know.
No, your head would be fine there.
Okay, just the head.
Well, I'll bring flowers.
Just the head.
I'll bring flowers.
No,
anyway.
this is how you're going to bring me to justice, because otherwise John gets away with murder.
She's just going to bring flowers. Okay, tonight we're going to the one country Nicole has never been to. Let me see if I can find it on this Google Earth thing.
First of all, Africa is not a country. We've
It's a
discussed
continent.
this.
I bless the rains down
All right.
in Africa.
What is this, Nicole?
That's Australia.
Australia? That's Tasmania.
Oh, very good. Tasmania, known for the
Tasmanian devil.
cartoon, yeah. The cartoon.
I have not been to
Wilson's from
Australia.
Tasmania. I want to go.
Who?
Rebel Wilson.
You don't want to go here. It's a shithole.
But, you love Rebel Wilson because you love the movie Bridesmaids. She was in Bridesmaids.
Don't tell me what I do and don't love.
Okay, am
You
I
said it was
wrong?
for free, and I said
How about I hate it?
You love Bridesmaids.
you like Pitch
Stop it.
Perfect. She was also in Perfect.
I don't know if he's seen Pitch Perfect.
It's
Pitch
really
Perfect is
Don't
funny.
tell me what I have and haven't seen. All right, tonight we're going to Sarah Island, Sarah Island in Tasmania, the home of the Tasmanian devil.
I would like to see what the real Tasmanian devil looks like, because literally all I think about is the character in Looney Tunes and Space Jam.
Also, have you seen the second Space Jam with LeBron?
No, I have not.
It's on HBO. You guys can use my
I know.
HBO.
I'm like not sure how I feel about watching an updated Space Jam.
I watched it. It was okay. It wasn't as good as the original, obviously,
Please.
but it was different. And I appreciate all the cameos from all the Warner Brothers
Literally,
characters.
dude. Ugh.
Okay, I'm done.
Okay, this is Sarah Island. We're on Google Earth right now. This is Sarah Island. It's
Doesn't
kind of
look like an island.
it's kind of hard to see because there's the atmosphere around it, but this is an actual little tiny island in the middle of Tasmania called Sarah Island.
An island in the island of Tasmania.
An island in the island, yes.
Whoa.
That's super cool.
It's
and
like
this-
Inception Island.
And this used to be a hardcore prison.
Oh, like the movie with the
Whoa.
stripes. The guy with the butterfly and the thing you were watching on TV. On movie, he wore red stripes. It had a butterfly. It was a prisoner.
What are you talking about?
Like the one that was Napoleon's inspiration, or like an
maybe.
inspiration out of
Yeah.
Napoleon. Poems Rollion or something like
Something
that.
like that. Yeah, and then there was like a cliff, and like the people tried to jump off the cliff. I don't know. I came in at the end of the movie.
Ugh.
It was one of those times when I worked late, when I had to work every single day in retail.
All right,
Pompilion.
Yes.
Pompilion.
That.
tonight we're going to 1822, and there's no photos of this because cameras weren't invented, but we are talking about a man, an Irish man named Alexander Pearce. Has anybody heard of this guy?
It sounds familiar, but no.
Alexander Pearce was an Irish thief. Not much is known about his childhood, but I will read some of the newspaper. And if you see this, let me talk a little bit about for you guys on Google Earth right quick. So Tasmania is, I'm sure it's a beautiful country, but the terrain is near impossible to traverse.
So is Tasmania, this is a serious question. Is Tasmania its own country or is it a province of Australia?
It's a province of Australia, I think, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Because there's no real government here. It's the land here is unusable. The only thing that grows here of any use, and which we'll get to, is a certain type of pine tree, which is the strongest pine tree in the world.
Oh.
And it's unique to Tasmania.
Do they export those to cities like New York and Boston for their big Christmas celebrations?
Yeah, I'm sure the limited supply of pine trees that grow on this small island is used for one-time usages at the Christmas celebration.
Well, listen,
for
John,
stupid Americans. What the fuck? look at this island. Look how small it is. It's like 10 trees grow there, and they're going to use it for fucking Christmas
It's more
decoration.
than 10 trees, John.
Fuck.
That's that. All right, so that island is probably bigger than the states of New York and Massachusetts. Like that's a large piece of land.
Okay.
No, but they get their trees imported from other countries.
Okay,
I would
so-
think Canada, though.
All right, Jen.
No, I don't think it's Canada.
Tonight we're talking about a Irishman. I wish I could see his picture. He was a little shorter than most Irishmen, and he was
That's
a lot
short then.
He was a lot more sober than
Most
Irishmen.
Irishmen.
I thought he was going to say than me. Yeah, the next time I have the opportunity to go to Ireland, I need to go. But I first need to find my passport or get a new one because I still don't know where my passport is.
Now
You gotta find that.
this is a statement right here from this man.
I was born in the county of Fermanagh, the north of Ireland. In the 26th year of my age, I was convicted of stealing 6 pairs of shoes and received sentence to be a transporter for 7 years. I arrived in Van Diemen's Land on board the ship Castle Forbes from Sydney.
So that is this. I mean, we don't have any pictures of this guy, but this is Alexander Pearce, and he has a story to tell. Now, we're actually going to after he was caught again after he escaped. So he's here. You see, he's 26 years old, of my age when I was convicted. He's stealing 6 pairs of shoes, which apparently, if you're stealing 6 pairs of shoes, you're a experienced criminal because shoes back then were obviously handmade by a shoemaker.
Cobbler.
So if you go in there,
Why do you think they made the connection between cobbler, the dessert, to cobbler, the shoe?
Or cobblestone streets.
Yeah.
I don't
Well,
know.
cobblers are probably named after cobblestone streets because they're cut into squares.
I don't know.
But where's the connection with the shoemaker?
I don't know.
There's cobblestone streets in New Bedford.
I guess we'll never know.
Well, we're asking. Maybe someone knows and then can give us the answer.
In 1922, after the journey that I'm going to talk about, the 3-month journey that I'm going to talk about, he is standing in front of a judge. Alexander Pearce is one of 8. He is the sole survivor from a 3-month journey, a harrowing 3-month journey across impossible terrain. He's standing in front of a judge after he is recaptured 3 months later, and he tells a story that the judge does not believe at all. He tells of a story of being so hungry that you have to resort to drawing straws to see who's going to eat who.
Oh, like that episode of Family Guy.
Where he's
You're
like,
eating me.
Sorry.
Perfect.
The judge actually didn't believe him, and he sent him back to the same prison. And the prisoners there welcomed him with a hero's welcome because the judge and everyone else in the country, which I'm going to have you guys decide if this is a true story or not, is definitely
A story.
It's definitely a murder story that happened, but there's some murder in it. But I'll let you decide how true the cannibalism is here in a second.
Wasn't that Papillion? Wasn't Rami Malek in that movie? Sorry, John.
I can't remember. There was at least one like famous dude.
Yeah, it was Rami Malek. I'm starting this story where he's actually telling the judge, and the judge is like, "You're lying," because at this time nobody believed cannibalism was actually a thing that people did. But he tried to explain, hey, this is really what happened. We were that hungry. We had to do something. So the judge and the police thought that Alexander Pearce was simply covering for the other escapees, the 7 other men that escaped, and he just didn't want to snitch. So he gets back to prison, and he is a hero because this guy didn't snitch. Nobody believed him that he ate 7 other humans.
Oh my god.
That's like that episode. Well, so I don't know if you guys have seen any of the episodes of the new spinoff of American Horror Story called American Horror Stories. But the latest episode talks about this little boy that went missing, and then he became this cannibal king, and then he ends up eating his parents.
Oh, I've not heard that.
All right. So that's the journey we're going to tell. The 3-month journey across this impossible terrain with absolutely no food whatsoever. And you guys can decide if he actually ate people.
We get to vote at the end?
Yeah, if you want to, Jen.
I kind of want to. What do you think, Niquise?
Okay, all right.
Let's do it.
So Alexander Pearce, an Irishman, we do not have a picture. His original sentence was in 1819. It was from him stealing 6 pairs of shoes. Now, he was sent to a regular prison. The prison in Sarah Island in Tasmania is a secondary prison for prisoners that break the rules at their first prison. So
Okay.
it's like...
So it's like the second
It's
prison
almost
you
like
go
an
to.
Alcatraz type of thing.
So it's like you went to this prison, but you broke the rules, so now you're going to this worse prison?
So he was serving a 7-year sentence for stealing 6 pairs of shoes. He went to this regular prison with what they called back then a gaol, Gaol, and he's serving his time, but he is a horrible inmate.
It sounds like Jean Valjean when he steals a loaf of bread.
He escaped twice. He receives 4 floggings, which is with the whip. Flogger.
I thought flog was wood.
Oh, I don't know. I thought it was a whip. It just said flogging, so I thought it was a whip.
I
don't
think
know.
it's when you're hit with like a board.
Thank you, sir. Can I have another?
Yes.
type of shit?
Yes. Legitimately, yes.
4 floggings. 1 consisted of 50 lashings, which is a whip. Lashings is a whip.
Lashing is the one you're getting hit with something.
The floggings, one of the floggings consisted of 50 lashings.
So he was hit 50 times.
That was for stealing 2 turkeys and 3 ducks. He got 1 flogging of 25 lashings. Now, this is all from this old-ass newspaper, which is kind of interesting. And I'll put this on talkmore.com. He got one of the floggings was for 25 lashings because he was Irish. I mean, because he was found drunk. Sorry.
Oh my God.
Freaking
Stop.
synonyms here. synonyms.
I don't appreciate it. I don't.
Another flogging of 50 lashings because he was convicted of stealing a wheelbarrow.
Maybe he wanted to go for a ride.
In March of 1822, he escaped his last time from the one prison, and that was when the judge and the police had enough, and they're like, you're going to go do hard time in Tasmania, where the terrain is awful, and you're going to work with an axe cutting pines all day long until you can't stand up. And it was very, very harsh punishment. It was very harsh. So a little bit about the harbor. It's called the Macquarie Harbour. That's where I showed you on the Google Earth. It's Tasmania on the coast. Very terrible weather, difficult terrain. The jobs that they had the prisoners do consisted of one thing, and that was cutting and transporting a certain type of pine tree called the Huon pine. And I'm going to show you that in a second. These trees live up to 3,000 years, and they are only found in Tasmania. This is the only place in the world these things are found.
Wow, those are really pretty.
Very pretty.
Oh.
So this is the tree right here.
That is a
Wow.
big ass tree.
Big ass tree, Jen says.
Beautiful.
Jen
It
says,
is beautiful, but it's a big ass tree.
Jen says a big ass tree. This is the paper I'm pulling this from. This is the entire confession of everything.
I can't read that. The letters are too tiny. The letters are too tiny. I'm too drunk.
He escapes on the west coast of Tasmania, the quote, most remote penal hellhole in the British Empire, end quote. In a 9-week journey of 3 months, he is the sole survivor out of 8. 5 were killed and eaten by each other.
Oh, no.
2 ran away because they were so fearful of being eaten. They ran away and were later found dead of exhaustion. Okay. So that's what we're going to talk about right now. The escape plan, he gathered 7 other inmates and said, let's get the shit out of Dodge. Let's go to the coast, commandeer a whaleboat. We'll go north. Now, this is in Australia. Go north around Australia, where they would obviously find them. And they'll hit whatever landmark they can, as long as it's not Australia. Most likely China or one of the neighboring islands. So they did that. They overpowered the guard and they headed into the rainforest. However, they didn't know that they faced a 255-kilometer journey of the harshest terrain, desert, mountain, the bush, as they call it in Australia. I know it's different here in the 70s in America. We term the bush. Jesus Christ.
You're so funny.
But the bush over there, completely unshaven. I mean, completely overgrown. Shit. Completely overgrown.
Hey, you know what? Like, if you're not using it, then why fucking bother? Like, what's the point? I'm just asking, I know.
I guess. I got a landing strip, so... Okay. They act... You're clear for landing.
I need to get one of those. Not a landing strip, those. The cones.
Just erect me. So where they're supposed to be.
I'm too drunk for this.
Oh my God.
Hey, at least you know where you're going.
I know where I'm going. He doesn't know where he's going.
So who needs the landing strip?
Why are you parking in the back of the airport?
You don't do that. We already know.
All right.
No one's parking anywhere for here, so it's just like, God help you.
The 8 men knew it was going to be a long journey, so they packed bread that they had stolen with them. However, the bread they had rationed out was baked with something called ergot, E-R-G-O-T, which is a bacteria that they use to bake the bread with, but it...
Like yeast?
Yeah.
Isn't yeast a bacteria, Nicole?
But...
I think so.
But the bacteria also accelerated in which the speed of the bread rotted. The bread was rotten within the first week. And not only that, the bacteria produced a halogenic effect.
Whoa.
A hallucinogenic effect. So they were tripping balls.
By eating bread?
By eating bread, which means they got lost because they're all tripping balls and they got lost in the
So does that mean
Tasmanian.
that if I just leave bread that I purchased out for like months
No.
and then go to eat it, and then I might
No,
get a chance
no.
of tripping balls, but wouldn't be an illegal substance because I'm just trying to eat bread and not let it go to waste?
There is something too, like it's on Netflix, like the something about mushrooms. And they do talk about like psychedelics and how
But what kind of mushrooms are we talking?
the ones that, grow from cow dung.
Mm-mm. I don't. I'm not familiar. Sorry.
Those are the hallucinogenic
there are giant
mushrooms.
mushrooms growing out of my neighbor's front yard right now.
This is from Alexander Pearce's own confession, word for word. It says, during the trip, which time we had no food but our kangaroo skin jacket. So the clothes they were wearing were made of kangaroo skin. They would cut them into slits and then chew on the kangaroo skin, and they would eat it.
Ugh.
So, but our kangaroo skin jackets, which we ate, being nearly exhausted with hunger and fatigue, on the 11th night, we began to consult what was best to be done for our preservation and made up our minds to a dreadful result.
Oof.
Now, this is what he's telling the judge, and the judge is like, you are fucking lying. This did not happen.
Well, in order to wear a kangaroo, you have to fight a kangaroo. They're like no joke. Kangaroos are big animals.
The jackets were issued to them. They're prisoners. Let me tell you what he says the best way to cook a human being is.
Oh, I don't want to know.
At first they cook the flesh and the innards. But that takes time. You have to make a campfire. You have to sit there and wait till it gets that perfect temperature. Do I like it rare, medium rare? You know, what's the deal? You got to squeeze out the doo-doo from the small intestines. All that stuff. It takes too long. So after the first one, he claims that all the rest, they just ate them raw. So also, I need to point out that human flesh is extremely rich in protein, which is good. You could use it and then go work out. However, it lacks carbohydrates, which carbohydrates provides the body energy. So they're walking through the desert pretty much for a 3-month stint, and they have no energy.
What about water? Where are they getting water from?
I mean, there's rivers, and I mean, they're surrounded by rivers and stuff. I don't know. Shit, they didn't talk about it. He says, on the 11th night, we began to make the decision. There's 8 of them. They said, all right, let's kill one of us.
Oof. How do you pick that? You draw straws? Like, what do you do?
That's a good question.
Like in Armageddon, Bruce Willis.
The first one was easy. The first one was actually really easy. And it says, quote, almost impulsively, they killed and ate Alexander Dalton because Pearce says he had volunteered to be a flogger of such men and was hated. So the guard did the mass punishment thing. Like, everyone's fucking up. Hey, you prisoner, go whip that guy. And he just volunteered. I'll whip him. So obviously you're the first to get eaten, dude.
So, I mean,
I'd eat him too, to be honest.
If we were all deserted, do you think that I would be the first one to get killed?
Probably. Are we being honest or?
Yeah.
Oh.
I think it would be me, actually.
Why would it be you?
Why
There's
would it
no
be
meat on
you?
your bones.
Yeah, there is.
But he has no use for me.
Yeah, he does.
And I need to survive. If it's just us 3, you need a man, so I'm out. So between you guys, you'll probably have to pick straws.
I don't know if I would win it, honestly.
I wouldn't fight you. I think I would just sacrifice myself.
Oh, stop it.
Because I don't know what his needs are. You do.
Well, do you?
Are we talking sexually?
I'm just talking about needs. I'm not generalizing or categorizing.
Okay, all right. So this is a little bit from the paper. I'm just kind of read this. This is after the first kill. The second one, we then drew cuts, which means drawing straws. We then drew cuts, which of us 5 should die. Do you want to read this or not? Or
you can't read the whole thing?
It's
No, I
very
got it.
difficult to
I can.
read. We then drew cuts on which one should die. It fell to Badman's lot. This is Scottish. I went with one of the others to collect dry wood to make a fire, during which time Traverse had succeeded in killing Badman and begun to cut him up. We dressed part of the flesh immediately.
Which dressed means, dressing out a deer kind of thing, like skinning it.
And continued to lose it as long as it lasted. We then drew cuts again, and it fell on the face of Matthews. Traverse and Greenhill killed him with an axe, cut the flesh from the bones. That's Scottish again, sorry.
That's good. Keep going.
Carried it on, lived upon as long as it lasted.
That's good. After the first one died, 2 of the men, Brown and Kennerly, they said, I ain't doing this. They went off basically to die of exhaustion. They didn't want to get eaten, which I'd probably be the same way. Because out of 8, they're going to continue eating people. So now it kind of becomes a game of cat and mouse. Like, who's going to fall asleep first? Because these men are starving to death. So they'll do anything.
As the journey continued, one by one, the weakest man was killed with an axe and butchered to provide food for the others. After 5 weeks of endless walking, only 3 men were left: Greenhill, Pearce, and Travers.
Okay, Travers was the next to go. So there's 3 left. It's a game of cat and mouse. Okay. Travers was bit on the foot by one of these things.
Mosquito?
Snake.
Oh,
A snake.
I'm a snake.
This right here is a venomous tiger snake. Look at this shit.
I'm glad that ain't
No.
in my backyard. Mm-mm.
It looks kind of like that snake behind you.
Stop
That's
it.
a no for me, dog.
Look at the head of this snake.
Oh,
Isn't that beautiful?
it is pretty. It has pretty eyes.
It's extremely venomous.
Well, we don't fuck with snakes.
These are the what do you call them? Amphibians or something?
reptiles.
These are the reptiles that have to kill big game, so they have to be extremely venomous. So, and what's crazy about this story is the man was bit by the snake, and for days they actually carried him along. He couldn't walk; he's crippled. They carried him along because, they're still good people. They don't want to just, have someone die.
Bye.
Either that or they were basically carrying him like a lunchbox because they ended up eating him, is what I'm trying to say.
Oh, like a Lunchable.
Jeez.
Pearce and Greenhill struggled on for 8 days, playing in a cat and mouse game with each other, desperate to stay awake, fearing that the other would attack him if he closed his eyes and nodded off. It was Pearce who kept awake long enough to grab the axe and kill the sleeping Greenhill with a blow to the head.
There's not much on this case, and I'm giving you all there that I can. So 3 left: Greenhill, Pearce, Travers. Travers was bitten. His foot was now gangrenous. And
With Travers' foot now gangrenous, Greenhill and Pearce half dragged and carried their injured companion for 5 days until Travers begged them to kill him. The only weapon left was the axe. They killed him in his sleep and ate his flesh.
Oh, no.
now this is from his actual confession here. It says Travers and Pearce held him while Greenhill killed him with an axe, living on the remains of the deceased, which they were hardly able to taste. They spent 3 or 4 days through weakness without advancing beyond 5 or 6 miles, Travers being scarcely able to move from lameness and swelling of his foot. Pearce is the only one that survives this journey. And now this is what he's telling the judge, which does not believe him. The judge believes everyone is alive. But he says he reached civilization and they called, and the civilization around there said he looked like a ghost. Or say, I was always on my guard and succeeded when he fell asleep. He's talking about the last one, Greenhill. To get the axe with which I immediately dispatched him, made a meal and carried all the remaining flesh with me to feed upon. That was what he said to the judge. So he goes, he escapes to civilization, finally makes it. He eats a bunch of sheep, like steals a bunch of sheep and eats it. He finally regains his strength after months, several months. He is then recaptured. That's when he's telling the judge. He's returned to prison. Heroes welcome. They think he's not a snitch. And not only that, he's in the same place. Every convict wants to escape with him because he actually got to freedom for a little bit. So one of the convicts actually badgers him. His name was Thomas Cox. And this is after he confesses to the judge. No one believes him. He didn't eat anyone. Didn't do it. Sent back to prison. He escapes again with this guy named Thomas Cox. Okay, and we're ending this story. Basically, they do the same thing, escape, but then when it comes down to crossing a river, he finds out that Thomas Cox can't swim. So in a rage, now this is after a few days, and not only that, they've had good provisions. They had a lot of food because from last time, he knew to take a lot of other things to eat with them, berries or whatever, lots of breads, not cooked with that bacteria, you know what I'm saying? They're eating pretty well. And 4 days later, he kills Cox. And in his own confession, he says, I remarked that I had been aware of it. He should not have been my companion. We were able to make a fire. The arrangement for crossing the river created words, and I killed Cox with the axe. They catch him again, and they try to convict him for killing this guy named Thomas Cox, but under the British rule, they needed to prove corpus delicti, which is you have to bring a body to the court. So the judge tells the solicitor to go retrieve the body. And they already don't believe his story at all. So they told him to go retrieve the body. Now, they don't think he's a cannibal. And then this is what the guy returns and says.
Then arose because the deceased could not swim, and after the prisoner had struck him on the head 3 times with his axe, the deceased, seeing him about to go away, his irons having been knocked off, said in a faint voice, "For mercy's sake, come back, and put me out of my misery." The prisoner struck him a fourth blow, which immediately caused death. He then cut a piece of one thigh, which he roasted and ate. And after putting another piece in his pocket, he swam across the river with intent.
They actually caught him again. Now, he's been eating bread and everything. He's not starving. But when they arrested him, they found a piece of thigh flesh in his pocket. They said, why do you have this? Why do you have this flesh? And he said the human flesh was far preferable to ordinary food. Obviously, he had acquired a taste for it and for killing. So now they finally believe him that that this journey of his actually happens. So this was after 11 days. They've been eating bread and everything else. He didn't have to cut this guy up, but he did anyway. The last time we see Alexander Pearce was at the Hobart Town Jail, 9 a.m. on July 19th, 1824, when he is about to be hanged. And he says the following right before his execution. He says, quote, "Man's flesh is delicious. It tastes far better than fish or pork," end quote.
Oof, but not better than beef?
So that is basically the story. There's not a lot of that story, but what do you think?
Wow. You gotta do what you gotta do.
Cannibals, man. Would you ever, do you think you'd ever eat a human if you had to? If you feel like you had to?
I don't know. I don't want to say yes. I feel like I would try to survive off of berries and.
But there was no berries or anything in this land. There was nothing. There was no fish. There was no kangaroos. There was nothing. There's no animals here. It's literally nothing. It's nothing but briars and.
It's hard to say that. I mean, I've never been put in that situation, nor do I want to be in that situation.
It'd be 3 hours later and Jen's already eating a human.
She's chomping on my thigh bone.
No, I don't like to eat meat off the bone. I don't.
She's gonna cook it really tender.
And for chicken wings, I prefer the flats, not the drumsticks. So I mean, it's gonna be limited.
All right, anyway, there's not much on that story.
Thank you, Malachi.
Yeah, thank you, Malachi.
Thanks. That was a good one. There's a movie on YouTube that this guy basically did everything I just said, and it's some pretty well-known actors. They actually go down to Madagascar, and they kind of film this whole thing where it's this.
You mean
days,
Tasmania?
Yeah, this is the second time.
They film this thing where they're cat and mouse, who's going to kill who type of thing.
Right, yeah.
But it's honestly, to pull all the information from one old newspaper, it's not much there. So, but anyway, I hope I did all right on that one.
Thank you, Malachi, for the story request.
Yeah, thanks, Malachi.
Anyway, I thank you for everyone watching us live on YouTube. For our Patreon people, thank you so much. That video will be available for our supporters. And if you want to see pictures and everything else, go to talkmore.com. This is episode 253. Also, be sure to subscribe to the new podcast, What Happened To. We are going to be doing a big giveaway, huge, and you want to be a part of that. So that's all I got, and I guess we'll go eat lasagna. But until next time, I always fuck that up. My name is John. Until next time, good night, you lovely, lovely people.